Hi, thanks for tuning in. Vince with Complete Home Remodeling for another handyman quick tip for you for toilet replacement. So this video is going to show you how to correct a leaky flange, which was incorrectly set up from the beginning, whoever mounted the toilet. So what happened is a homeowner had tile installed here a couple years ago. And if you'll look, the original flange is still there. Now I left that wax ring on there for a reason. So what I did was I pulled the two bolts off, okay, which is pretty easy for you to do. Pulled the toilet after disconnecting the wand. And here's what I found. This particular right-hand side bolt was completely loose and out of the flange, which means that the little cross section of the bolt was turned and slipped its way through, and thus creating a leak. Now, the biggest issue here is when they installed this tile floor, the builder manufactured this slab panel floor, a slab construction concrete floor with vinyl sheet good over. So the flange itself used to be above grade of the floor. So someone came in here and added about 3/4 of an inch, but they didn't make an adjustment for the flange. Well, we're not going to do that either, so we're going to show you a quick, easy way to correct this issue. And simply, if you look at this particular wax ring, you can see it's got depth. You can get past the dirt and soil, but it has height and depth, which means it was never squashed down, especially right here in the front and on this right-hand side. So there was never a good seal right from the get-go. So after removing this flange wax ring, and I always advise to use gloves or stick it with something. Maybe you can pull it straight up and get rid of it, and that's a good way to go as well. Always wash your hands, and God forbid, don't bite your nails. Anyway, long story short, so here's what we have after an inspection of it, minus the dirt, which hasn't been cleaned yet. The flange itself appears to be in good shape. Surprisingly, it hasn't rusted out from the leaking issue. Now this is an offset flange. You can see this was installed to push the toilet forward to give it a 12-inch mark. My only issue there is that they probably missed on the original pipe set, because that's about a 3-inch difference right there. Okay, so long story short, now what we're going to do is we're going to mount the toilet, but we're going to do a little bit different here. By not raising that flange, what we're going to use is a cone funneled wax ring, and then we're going to double that wax ring with a plain wax ring with no flare on it or cone, and this will ensure that we get a full squash out of the seal with new bolts. So a couple of quick techniques. Okay, technique number one. This is to ensure that you don't create an issue. Sorry about the phone. Is you have a new flange bolt, and if you'll see, it's a winged bolt at the bottom. So therefore, it must be installed this way. When you turn it in, it has to be turned such as that to give you a positive attraction. If it goes like this, it can pop out, which is what happened here before. The second key important note is if you look at the top of the bolt, I put a line across that. And what that means, we'll take it back out and I'll show you. And this is the life-saving tip of the day here. We don't want to do it twice. The bolt must stay in that position, not this way, because it could pull out. If you turn this way and you see the hash I put up top, that's a line. That tells me as I'm installing that the bolt line must stay this way, straight. Now I know as I'm tightening my nut down with my washer, I won't get this. You follow me? And the idea in that is to prevent that bolt from turning and keeping it cross section at the bottom, which gives it maximum pull. Okay, that's the first tip. Okay, here's the next $1 million tip. When you are able to, always try to secure the bolt. So here's what I did. If you look, you'll see the hashtag on top. A little hard to see because of the focus. It's going in this direction. So we know that that bolt is correctly installed under there. You can almost see it. All right, so what I did was I used the old washer from the previous bolt set and the old nut from the previous bolt set and put that on the new one. held the threads in place so the rod didn't spin, then put the washer and then a nut on it, and now both of these are secure. That increases my odds of success tenfold, and I don't have to even worry about it turning at this point. But I like to do things the easy way. I only want to do it once. Okay, so now the other trick here is to make sure that you're center of the hole. Not center of the pipe, center of the radius hole, which we are. So we'll have an easy install here. Okay, we're back. And by the way, typical tools that you'll need is a pair of pliers to hold the threads when you're unscrewing and screwing in the new bolts. And a crescent wrench or an adjustable wrench, simply to grab the nut and spin it down. Now, biggest thing I could tell you here, here's tip number 3 and tip number 4. Number 3 is see the wad of paper towel. It's actually not paper towel, it's soft tissue paper, which is toilet paper. I put that in there to keep the odor from coming up out of the sewer. I don't want to sit here and smell anything more than what I have to do the job. Second of all, on this particular application, again, you can see the flange is lower than the tile. That's where it creates a problem. That floor flange lip, which is here, always needs to be at the grade of the tile or the finished floor. That's what separates having a leaky issue with one wax ring opposed to having to double them up or raise the flange. Since we're not raising the flange, we're going to double this. And real simple. And when that flushes for the first time, that toilet paper will wash through as normal. Okay, so it's just blocking the odor. All right. The fourth biggest tips is place down your cone washer first. Okay. Now, we already know that's a little bit below grade. You might think that that's going to not be an issue on this toilet, but we've already seen that it is an issue on the toilet. And what I do next is I take a regular standard wax ring with no cone and I double that. Now, you're probably looking at that saying, boy, man, that's a lot of wax right there. Well, yeah, it is. But at the same time, we already know that a regular wax ring, which is not a jumbo, with the cone will not work with this. So we need to ensure and make sure that there's a complete seal on this all the way down. And the only way to really do that is to make sure that we have enough wax up and under there. Where it flows out from there is fine with me. So what we're going to do at this point is now we're going to set the toilet back on there and then work it left and right, left and right, left and right until it's flush to the tile. And then we'll see where that takes us. Stand by. Okay, I'm back again. Now, what I did was I positioned and mounted the toilet. And by putting my 2 knees here and holding the toilet, I can gently rock the toilet left and right, or you can do forward or back to get that to squash down to the floor. Now, here's how you know that there's an issue here with this toilet because of its toilet height. As the tile person didn't even really complete the tile, you can see a corner of that sticking out, which you normally shouldn't see. Doesn't create a problem, but aesthetically it's incorrect. So whoever mounted the toilet here should maybe just stick with the tile and get a plumber or somebody else to do his toilet work because he really missed on this. And then another issue was there were several wood shims underneath of this because the tile was so crooked, the actual toilet would lean to the left, to the right. And right now I have it to the point where it's pretty decent. So now we're going to put these nuts on here. And the biggest thing I could tell you with this is to make sure, and this is a must, is to make sure that those nuts don't spin. Easiest way to do that is you take your fitting again. Okay, and you'll see this end up, and you put that on there first. Then you take your ob washer and you put that on there. Then you take your new nut, and obviously you install that on top of your bolt. If I can get it started, that'd be a good thing. There we go. And you just want to try to center and try to keep both of these in line. The white gasket, well, it's actually a white press ring for the cap, and then the oblong washer, you want them not exceeding each other. And get them hand tight on both sides before you start tightening. Okay, last tip When you're tightening your bolts, you don't want to over tighten them. As you put your crescent wrench on it, you're looking for the hashtag to make sure that the thread doesn't turn on you and loosen up below. And what you're doing, and a lot of people are confused, how tight do I actually make this? You don't hump this down because you'll crack the toilet or you'll break the flange that holds the bolt. You'll actually rip that bolt up and out of the toilet socket on the flange. So you just want to get this to a point where it's tight and you feel as though it's tight, but at the same time, if you over tighten it, are you going to snap the bolt or are you going to snap the flange below? So once you're done, what I like to do is several times as I'm installing it, is wiggle my toilet. See if I can move my toilet in its place, and you do that with your hands. You just rock it back and forth. If it moves, then you know you're loose. All right, if I know it's tight and I'm shaking it back and forth, and if I can grab right here and yank on it and there's nothing moving, then I know I'm tight. So we're good to go on this. This is completed and it's done. The last part is to put your caps back on, which are going to go like that. Okay, and so see how we have a little bit of height difference here. So we're going to want to cut that bolt down a little bit with a hacksaw and then snap that back on to fit. Same thing on the other side. We're going to want to do that as well because that sits substantially high. So we'll cut them down with a hacksaw. Word of warning, don't cut halfway and start bending the bolt because you'll loosen up your flange. So what you want to do is just cut it off clean, get rid of it, snap that right back into place. So we'll be back. Okay, now you'll know if that bolt's tight enough. And the reason I say that is when you go to put your hacksaw on there, because it's so tight, you're only going to get so much of a movement this way. So come up a couple thread, start cutting into it, and just get it going. And drag yourself back, just like that. And just get it going to the point where you can get into the bolt. Now, if that bolt doesn't move and it's completely solid, then we know we're tight enough. If you get any motion at all on that bolt when you're cutting it, you better tighten it back down some more. If it continually tightens and it's not getting tight as you're turning it, that means you skipped the wing and you have to do the process over again. We don't want to do that. So you want to get as far into this bolt as you can. And there it is. You know that's off. You just tip it back and forth and it's good. All right. And we could take a tissue, dampen it, get your chip filings off, put your cap on there. And I just like to put them on there and give them a little hit. Or push it down, you hear it snap on, and that's it. It's done, completed. Okay, now we're going to hook up the feed. Okay, last but not least, when you put your wand back on or your feed, make sure that your washer, and this is a cone, this is the best one to get. Make sure you put it back on there. As you tighten it up, and you get to the final part of tightening it up, and this one was loose when I did it. Here's what you're going to want to do. If you continually turn this when it's tight, which it is now, you will move this float, as I'll show you. Well, this one's pretty tight, so I may not have to worry about that on this. But sometimes, right, and this will only go so tight. So sometimes you need to hold that float at the base below as you're spinning that on to ensure that there's no additional movement with it. Okay, so this one's actually pretty good. So we're going to turn the water back on. And we want to make sure we have no leaks. Okay, as we're filling, and this is missing its little clip here, but that's okay. We're going to put it in there manually anyway. We're going to fill this bowl back up because we should be done. As long as we don't have any leaks, we should be good to go. If we have a leak, there may be another issue involved with the toilet. micro crack, something similar. So we're going to go with this for now. And get this bad boy going. And we're going to flush. And we're going to look for water to come out of its sides, which is what happened before because there was lack of seal. Now, there's enough water in there now that we could do a quick test. Now you can see we're stuck on fill here. Okay, everything is flushing fine. We've got no leaks. We've got no water. Did about 5 flushes on this, and everything worked out beautifully. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, subscribe, jingle the bell if you want updates from me. There's about 80 plus videos on there. And again, take your time, you'll do fine. And use the 4 tips that were given to you, and this will keep you out of trouble every time. Okay, so case closed here. Thanks for being. Bye now.